Hi everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. I hope you're enjoying today so far and some of the talks you've had. I might be asking you a few questions and it would be great if you can try and shout back to me. I don't like to just talk to myself for long periods of time, and you might find it more useful if you respond. I find it might be more interesting for you. And of course, if you have questions after this, I will be around in a career clinic for one-to-one support. So you can come find me after. There'll be a little bit of time for questions then, if you like. So this is me. The QR code will take you to my website. This is a good way to get in touch if you find my talk interesting or you find you need some support wherever you're at. I'm just going to show you a few numbers, and I want you to try and guess what they mean in relation to career transitions. I hope you can see those clearly. Does anyone want to guess what any of those numbers mean? Please feel free to shout out. All right. If we start with 12, what do you think that number means? Oh, sorry. How many people give up? Okay, which number? Okay, no bad guess. So 55% is how many people are answered that they are happy in their jobs in the last couple of years. Do you think that's a lot? That means out of here, half of you do not find you're not happy in your job. Do you think that's a lot? I know 55% might not sound like a bad number, but if we're talking half the people, that's quite a lot of people. So you can imagine why, you can understand why it's quite busy today, right? So it's normal to be in this situation if you're thinking of changing career. Whether you're at the start or whether you're in the middle, that's completely normal, okay? 12, just for the sake of time, I'll answer this one. 12 is the number of jobs the average person has in a lifetime. I don't know if that's higher or lower than you expected, but again, the reason I'm asking you that or telling you this is because it's normal to change jobs. Maybe a long time ago it was frowned upon or it was a bad thing to change jobs. But nowadays it's becoming more common, especially with AI. Jobs are less secure than they ever were. So it's another reason it's expected. So if you're going through that situation, it's completely normal. Don't feel like you're the only one and that you won't have a chance. Employers are starting to expect it a lot more. Especially with the new generation. They expect people to move jobs because, again, job security, AI, you have to think about that. So don't let that stop you if you're thinking about it. 1/3, any guess what that could be? Or 33%? You have to shout for me, like, considering changing their career, not quite. 1/3, or 33%, is how much of your life that you will spend at work, on average, for most people. So, do you think your job affects your happiness? It does. While it's not the same for everybody, it might not be so obvious for everybody. But if you're not happy in your job, it is likely to affect other areas of your lives, your relationships and other things, and you might not notice it at first, okay? So again, it's quite a lot of your time that you spend at work, so why not try and enjoy it or find something that you enjoy? It will make your life a lot more enjoyable and easier. Okay, and just a couple more numbers there. 91%, that's the percentage of people who have gone into self-employment or their own company and been successful and not regretted it. When they were asked, would you go back to your job before? They said, no. So again, if you're thinking of self-employment or your own company, For most people, it works, so it could work for you as well. And finally, 82%, that's the percentage of people who have successfully changed career after the age of 40 and been successful with it. So again, if you feel like you might be too old to change, it's a lot of people do it, so hopefully that'll help. I'm going to break my talk into three steps. Managing uncertainty. So what is it like to feel when you're going through the career change, and how to deal with anxiety and uncertainty. Transition teams, a network, a team that can help you in the process, because you will need people to help you. You can't do everything yourself. You can achieve a lot more with other people. And dealing with fear and confidence, because those are the usually two barriers that stop a lot of people. It does say identity change there, but we probably won't have time for that. So first of all, how does uncertainty work? Well, you'll notice it's in every day of your lives if you think about the weather. I don't know if many of you are from Ireland or lived in Ireland for a long time, experiencing 4 seasons in one day. In every day of your life, you have uncertainty. It's how life normally is. So when it comes to jobs and careers, it's no different. It's just another part of uncertainty in your life. So don't be afraid of it, okay? Again, every area of your lives, not just work, but in your relationships, right? You can't be certain how long your relationship will last. You may want it to last a certain amount of time, but how long it does last is different, right? People get illnesses that we don't predict, we don't expect. But what do? We deal with it, right? I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Groundhog Day. Can you just get a show of hands? If you're not familiar with the movie, okay, it's about a person who wakes up and he lives the same life every day, okay? Do you think you would enjoy that? Just raise your hands if you would. That relies on certainty, right? If you know what's going to happen. So if you take uncertainty away, life would probably be a bit boring, right? So when it comes to your career, don't be afraid of the fact that it's uncertain what's going to happen next, because, hey, if you did know, you might not enjoy it either way, right? So you may as well choose something that has a bit more variety. It causes both discomfort and excitement. Sometimes the feeling is the same in our body. But your body doesn't know the difference. It's up here that does. So what happens when you're feeling anxious? Anybody? Do a shower? Start freezing? Yeah. It does affect people in different ways. You might get a fast heartbeat. Yeah. Get nervous. Maybe it affects the way you talk. It shows up in many different ways for different people, okay? But at the same time, when you're excited, what happens? Usually your heart beats fast, right? Might get sweaty. Might get short of breath. All of these things can be very similar. Again, your body doesn't know the difference and it might react in the same way. So you might find if you're thinking about changing jobs, the process to be like, yes. And maybe you decide not to do it because it doesn't feel good, right? But sometimes that can be a good thing, to feel same way as excited about something. You might notice that time passes more slowly when things are certain, when you have a routine. Sorry, I had that the wrong way around. They've done lots of studies, when you have the same routine every day, time passes by really quickly. Why? Because when you look back on what did I do last weekend, have you ever had a problem answering that question? Even though it was a few days ago? That's because if you're in a routine, it's harder for your memory to just be able to distinguish different hours of the day. So again, being uncertain, it helps with that, if that makes you feel better. And yes, it does require effort. Think back to a long time ago when people didn't know they had to hunt for their food. Did they know where the next meal was coming? No. What did they do? Just sit down and give up? No, because that wouldn't have helped them. So it makes you try harder. And, you'll be happier in your career if you are in a job where you actually have to try and use effort, instead of being in a job that's just easy and you can do it with your eyes closed. So, how can we look at dealing with or managing uncertainty? You're not going to get rid of it. I don't have a magic pill or anything that will get rid of all of your uncertainty. It will not go away. So, don't look at avoiding it, look at managing it. If you notice that circle at the top there, you might have seen it before. A circle of influence. What's in your control, what's not in your control. So basically, you get some great advice from the career clinics today, great CV, you get an interview, you go to the interview, you prepare, all goes well, and you don't get the job. You preparing, you doing your research, that's all in your control, right? Who decides whether you get the job? Not you, unfortunately. That's always going to be out of your control, right? So there's always going to be parts that are out of your control and in your control. What might be helpful for you is to map out what is in your control that you can do, because this will help with anxiety and uncertainty. And then the things that aren't in your control, just be aware of them and acknowledge them, but don't try and change them, because you'll never win that battle, okay? You might do a scenario planning, best case, okay case, and worst case scenario. If you are leaving a job which is really secure, you have a mortgage, you have a family, I know that you can't just change jobs, right? But it might help to map out, okay, what would be my best case scenario? What if? It helps when you're anxious if you plan ahead. Just a simple sentence. If I get the job, I will blah, blah, blah. If I don't get this job, I will. It helps you manage what's going on in here when you've thought about it before. It might not be easy, but it will certainly help. Anxiety is helping to reduce that when you plan. You might have come across this abbreviation, WHOOP. It might not be very clear there, so I'll read out. W is wish. What is your goal? Be specific. Don't just say, I want a new job. It's not going to help what's going on in here if it's not very clear. Outcomes, what would be the perfect result for you? It might not be, it might be get a job in the next 6 months. That is an easier goal to reach than just get a new job, because we have nothing to measure it with. Obstacle, you will get obstacles, especially if you're changing careers. That's the main obstacle. People feel what they call imposter syndrome. It's, I don't know how to do this because it's a new experience to me. When I speak to people in the career clinic, one of the first things they tell me is, I want to change job, but I don't have blah, blah, blah. Focus on what you do have rather than what you don't have, because no one needs to know what you don't have, right? They'll figure that out themselves. They'll make that judgment outside of your control without you. Don't help them with that. They don't need any help with that. Again, help yourself in that sense. If you plan an obstacle, what if I don't find a job in 6 months? How will that affect, my mortgage, my finance, and all of that? It helps if you thought about it rather than it catching you by surprise. And then finally, plan. Yes, it does help to have a plan. The more specific you are, the better it is and easier to follow. Most people I talk to, when I ask them, the first thing that they do when they come to see me is they show me their CV. And I'm like, why are you showing me this? And then secondly, what job are you applying for? I can't decide if it's a good CV if I don't know your job, right? So again, plan might be, what do you need to focus on? Don't always start with the CV, right? Some of you have great CVs already, so don't just assume it's that. Make a plan that's good for you. Okay, moving on to my second point, build a transition team. What might that look like? Well, first of all, why do people help us? You might find that if you're changing career that you've had for 10, 15, 20 years, you've made a lot of friends at work, and that's quite normal. So a lot of people might not want to change because they're worried that they might lose their friends and connections. Again, that worry isn't always the case and isn't always true. It might be a good test of a good friend. 85% of jobs are filled with networking and people telling someone that they know someone. I know that might not be fair, but we have to work with reality, right? Especially in Ireland. Ireland is a very small place, okay? It does help for who you know. That doesn't mean that you don't have a chance if you don't know anybody. But it's good that you're all here in an event like this today because this is where you can get to meet people. And that's the first step towards helping that. Helping others actually does feel good, even if you feel like you don't like helping people. There's chemicals in your body that disagree, right? You actually do get health benefits from helping others. It's how we survive as a species for so long. If you ask for help, it's okay. A lot of you might feel shame in asking for help because it might say that you're not good enough or you can't do it on your own. Ideas may be raised by when we were younger, by our parents. While we cannot change that, what we can do is, research has shown, it helps build trust. When people are interviewed, and what helps you trust somebody is when they tell you that they need something. It's good when someone asks you for help because you're like, oh, they thought of me. They must have thought like I can be relied on. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to go through what things that you can do. First of all, perhaps find a peer or someone that you know who has changed jobs or careers and ask them what it was like for them and what helped them. While it might not be the same for you, it will also help with managing uncertainty and anxiety. Attend networking events like these and various others in Ireland. Being able to talk to someone is extremely important because when you stop talking to people and everything's going on in here, it will carry on going on in here and it will get harder in here. It does help to tell people. Sometimes if they don't have the answer, it still helps to tell them. This is why therapy works for a lot of people. And finally, just a couple of things to bear in mind with fear and confidence. One other question I want you to ask is, why are you deciding to change careers or jobs? Is it out of hope or fear? What's the difference? Hope is you are deciding to move for a good reason that will benefit you. I want to go somewhere where they will help me professionally develop. I want to go somewhere where someone will pay for me to do extra study. It's a good reason, right? That's what we call hope. If you're choosing to leave because you don't like